If you're planning a move to Nashville, Brentwood, Franklin in the next 12 months, stop scrolling. This video is for you. Nashville just did something it has not done in over 4 years. The average days on market in Metro right now are pushing 100 days. Crazy time for Nashville. That's almost 3 times what it was just a few years ago. So is the Nashville market crashing?
And the answer is not even close. And that's the part that people are not really talking about. While Metro Nashville has seen a decline, areas in Williamson County like Franklin and Brentwood are up 6% in value over the last year. So today, 3 things. The first one are the 3 numbers that actually flipped the market and what matters when you're negotiating and getting to the closing table. Number 2, we're going around the map. We're going to Franklin, Brentwood, Nolensville, Belle Meade, Green Hills, 12 South, a lot of different areas. We're telling you the truth about where exactly buyers have leverage right now and where you'll still lose in a bidding war.
Number 3, the one you're going to want to stick around for, exactly what we would do with a $1 million, $2 million, $3 million budget, including the builder incentives that never make it into the ads. Let's dive into it. And we are your Nashville real estate consultants. We're out here every single week, rain or shine, looking at properties for you, checking out the market. And we help people from California, Texas, New York, every single week. So reach out to us, book a call with us.
And every single family that's called us this month has asked the exact same question. Is it too late to buy in Nashville? Did we miss the market?
And here's the honest answer. It's no longer one market. We now have 2 markets here in Middle Tennessee. There's the metro market where buyers just got handed a lot more leverage than they've had in over 4 years. And then there's a Williamson County market who did not get that memo clearly. So whether this is your best buying window since 2019 or a highly competitive market, depends on your price range, depends on where you're looking to purchase. And we're gonna get into that in this video. So let's start with the 3 numbers that tell the whole story.
Number 1 is days on the market. The average home in Nashville last year sold in about 58 days. Now we're pushing 100. That's almost a 50% increase.
Yeah, exactly. And even, I mean, going back to 2019, you're looking at 3 to 4 times.
Exactly. While days on the market might sound like a boring stat, it really translates into leverage for a buyer. Those first 30 days, a seller has it priced, they're excited, they're waiting for those multiple offers to come in. Past 60 days, you're talking about sellers having hard conversations with their agents. They may be reaching out to every buyer that ever looked at it, seeing if there's interest. They're really starting to hustle at that point. And once you go beyond 60 days, you know, it just gets worse and worse from there. And that's where the buyer should jump in.
Exactly. And here's the part that matters even more than price. Contingencies are back. I remember people writing offers with no inspections, no contingencies, just to get a chance to win that property.
Kind of the wild, wild west.
It was insane. It was absolutely crazy. And now contingencies are back. Buyers, especially people relocating like you, have a little bit more time. So you can take your time and get to Nashville and look at some properties, and you don't have to worry about everything being under contract by the time you get here. So contingencies are back. Home inspections. You can even, some people are actually even accepting sale of home contingencies now, which, you know, several years ago that wasn't even an option. If you had to sell your home first in order to purchase, that wasn't even going to be considered. But now you can have a little bit of leeway there to potentially even have a for sale of home contingency.
And I like it because it kind of creates a balance of power, and it protects buyers again. You know, to waive a contingency altogether is risky, and I like protecting my buyers in that way.
Yeah, exactly. I never allowed a client to waive their inspection. I was like, hey, I don't care. Like, you were not doing it. You have to do it, even if it's a 3-day window for an inspection. You know, you have to get that done. And so now you can be more, like you said, more cautious and take your time to examine the property, make sure that it's the right home for you.
As an example, we just helped a family moving from out west, relocating here, and the house that they were eyeing had been on the market for about 65 days. We ended up getting it under contract for less than asking price, but we also negotiated a interest rate buy down that the seller paid for, as well as the furniture in the bonus room.
Yeah, that's great. We'll talk more about the buy down later as for people who are on the fence about, you know, hoping the interest rates come down. So stick around for that, because we have some good strategies around that. So that's number 1. But days on market only tells you how fast things are selling. The second number tells you who's actually in control, and it just passed the line and then came back under a line that it hasn't crossed in several years.
Right.
And that's the 6 months of inventory. We hit that a few months ago, and it actually came back down. Today we're at 3.8 months of inventory in Metro. A little different when you get outside of Davidson County. But that number, 6 months, is a balanced market between buyers and sellers, a perfect balance. And so that shows you who's in control at the negotiating table.
So anything under 6 months is a seller's market.
Exactly.
Anything over 6 months is a buyer's market. So we teetered right around that balanced market for a little bit, and now we're slightly more into the seller's market.
Yeah, and it's an important thing to note, right, when you're looking at inventory.
And what that 6 month mark actually feels like in real life is that you can breathe a little bit. You can come into town, see a house, sleep on it, see it again the next day maybe, and then make an offer a day or two after that. And that breathing room, especially from somebody coming from out of state or across the country, that's just everything. I mean, that really creates a much more a sense of comfort there.
Yeah, exactly. And we do still see multiple offers on certain properties.
Right.
But for the most part, you have some some time to breathe, like you said.
Yeah.
So over the past year, the market has climbed in Metro Nashville about 1.6%, which is basically flat. Whereas if you look at Williamson County, they're up around 6%. A huge variation. Same interest rates, same market, same climate.
Right. And so why is it that if days on the market are increasing, but also the average price is increasing? That doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, it
right?
doesn't. And what we found is that these higher end homes are bringing up the average for the entire market.
Right. So the more expensive houses right now are selling like hotcakes, and that's bringing up the average.
Yeah, exactly. Which is crazy. It's just such an interesting market. It's a confusing market.
Right.
That we're still trying to wrap our heads around, right?
Right. And so a lot of those higher end houses that are selling are in Williamson County, which is why that's up that 6% year over year.
Yeah.
And I think one of the driving forces of that is the school system.
Yeah, it has to be. Williamson County, if you know anything about Middle Tennessee, you know that it's actually one of the best in the state, the school system. This is public information. We're not trying to steer you.
We're not steering anyone. It's just out there as fact.
Yeah, and an article just came out saying that Nashville is kind of dropping in rankings, and a large part of that reason was because of the school system in Davidson County, and there's room for improvement for Davidson County, and so that's something that people think about when they're looking at the school systems and where to live in Middle Tennessee, and they pick Williamson County oftentimes.
Right, exactly. And the second reason is land. You go out to Williamson County, and those lots in Brentwood are a minimum 1 acre.
Yeah,
so
a lot of the new
you're
ones
not
you have
looking
to.
at dense urban neighborhoods. You're looking at a little bit more land, more mature trees, a build out that's done, a lot of new construction, that type of thing.
Yeah, and another reason is, like we said, that the buyers in these higher end homes are oftentimes insulated from these higher interest rates, right? We're still around 6.5% interest rates, but these buyers who are selling, if you're selling in California, you have all this equity and all this cash, you don't care as much about the 6.5% interest rate, or if you're able to afford a $3 million home, you probably also don't care as much about those interest rates. Whereas someone who's paying $500,000-$600,000 for a home, they're very sensitive to those interest rates, and so that's another reason why the higher end market is really bringing things up right now, which is really interesting.
Right. Okay, so those are the numbers and a real overview of what's going on and the difference between Metro Nashville and Williamson County.
And a quick time out, because this is what matters most. If you are moving here the next 3 to 6 months, the best thing you can do is book a quick 15-minute call with us, no cost to you, and we will help you understand where your leverage markers are and where you can negotiate and where you can't in this current market.
Yes.
So book a call with us. It's in the description below.
We really want to talk to you too.
All right, so this next section, we're going to get into the map, where you can win, where it's going to be tough to win, where you might lose in this market, and we're going to start with Franklin. And Franklin is also like it has like two markets in one. If you are trying to be close to that really cool downtown center of Franklin, if you see something that's priced right, it's going to go quickly. Might not have as much negotiating power as you would want to in this market, and so keep that in mind. If you see something close to downtown that you can walk to the downtown center, you want to get in on that one quickly. You don't want to wait.
Right.
But
on the flip side, if you go to other neighborhoods just down the road, like West Haven, areas like that, there's a lot more competition, or no, I shouldn't say competition, but there's a lot more for sale.
Yeah.
So you can be more choosy and you can negotiate on those.
So a lot of those pre-planned, neighborhoods, you're seeing a lot of inventory.
Right.
People have already moved to their next home, and so if you see something like that, then those are the ones where you can really come in and negotiate and have a lot more leverage.
Right. But it's also it's for the same family example, it's two different lifestyles.
Yeah.
Even though it's just a mile down the road, it's two very different experiences and two very different neighborhoods within Franklin.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something you just have to come and experience and see and drive around and look at. All right, so let's get in just a little bit north of Franklin, which is Brentwood. This one is still very hot for sellers. If you're, if they price it right, you're looking at $1.5 million to $2.5 million in Williamson County. Still the great school system. If it's a turnkey home, those things are moving pretty quickly.
Yes.
The place that you can
Sometimes
negotiate
for over $2.5 million.
Oh yeah. It goes way up above that. Yeah.
Yes.
But in this range, sometimes the places that you can find leverage are these older homes. If a home is built in the 90s and hasn't been updated, but you're still on an acre lot or bigger, you can have some room to negotiate. Those are the ones that are sitting on the market 60, 70, 90, 100 days.
Right.
And you can come in and bring your contractor and renovate the kitchen and do the things that you want to make the home look like you want it to, and that's where you can really come in and leverage and negotiate and really work on those offers.
Right. And I realize that not everyone wants to go through a renovation. Not everyone has the motivation to have their contractor do it and design and all that stuff. But that is a real opportunity, and it gives you the things that are non-negotiable, like those acre lots and those mature trees that you can't change. If you go new construction that's on a smaller lot, you can't change the lot size after the fact.
Yeah.
So just things to weigh there, and that's probably the move to get that leverage, and you have instant equity then built in that home as well.
Exactly.
If you renovate.
Yeah, so it just depends on your preference, but understanding what you can and can't do in this market, that's really what we want to help you with.
Next would be Green Hills and Belle Meade, and these would be your areas within Nashville proper that are pulling up that 1.6% increase in price that we talked about. So these are your higher end areas. There's only a few hundred estates to choose from, and they generally sell a little bit more quietly, a little bit more under the radar.
In the Belle Meade area,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you have that, and then the Green Hills area, which obviously is a ton of a much larger space. But yeah, Belle Meade, you have a lot of these that like you're at lunch and someone says they're thinking about moving. It goes under the radar. You're not going to see them on Zillow, and but a really beautiful area. And they have their own government. They've ranked in the top 5 wealthiest areas in the country at some on some different maps.
Right.
So just a great area inside Davidson County. But like you said, the luxury that pulls up the rest of the market. And then Green Hills is in that similar area,
right next to Belle Meade.
Yeah, right next to Belle Meade.
They're almost 2 in 1.
Yeah,
right?
and so that's a very different, interesting area. The new construction there, if you keep it under $3 million, those are still moving pretty quickly. If you get above $3 million in that Green Hills area, the market has become a lot more patient. So you can actually, take your time on things that are over $3 million. Those are sitting right now a little bit longer. And then you just have older developments, older homes in that area too that you could have more leverage on as well, similar to the areas in Brentwood that are older.
Right.
We're going to go back into Williamson County is Nolensville. Now this one has a lot of new construction. So if you want to get new and still figure out a way to leverage the market, this is a great way to do it. Builders are not going to cut their prices if they have several more homes to sell, and so they try to keep that up there. But here's something that they don't tell you: there's a lot of incentives that they can do, that they can offer you to keep the price up. Closing costs, buy your rate down, offer you all kinds of incentives on
could be kitchen appliances. Including a washer and dryer, including blinds being installed, a fence,
all these things
a
that
pool,
you can get.
all sorts of different things that you can add in, because they're not going to bring their price down, but they'll add those incentives.
Yeah, and then you don't even see those things.
You just have to know to ask for them.
Yeah,
right.
So that's exactly. So that's something to keep in mind with Nolensville. They have a lot of inventory there. They're trying to get these off of their books by the end of the year. So Nolensville, you know, again, you're out a little bit further. You're still, most of Nolensville is in Williamson County, but you're out a little bit on the southeast side of Williamson County. So check it out on the map, see if you think that's a place that you could live. But that's definitely something where you can really leverage and get more for your money in that area, in this market.
Yeah. The last one, we're kind of grouping together the 12th South neighborhood and East Nashville. They're on two different sides of town, but they're both sort of similar. They're in the urban core and have been pretty investor heavy.
Yeah. And so you have the buyer temperature there is a little better. You have more negotiating power. You have more leverage right now in these areas because, again, we have a lot more inventory. You have several like flips and builders coming in and tearing a house down, building two new ones in the on the same lot, things like that. So a lot more inventory and a lot more opportunity for buyers to come in and really potentially get a deal.
Right. And of course, there's going to be exceptions to that, like your historic homes that have already been renovated that are sitting on the most desirable block of that street. You know, there's going to be exceptions, but as a whole, those are good areas to pay attention to.
Yeah, I think the closer you get in East Nashville to, say, 5 points, that area that's in the historic district there, those are going to be harder to really leverage.
Right. And same with in 12 South, if you're within walking distance to all the shops and restaurants there, those are going to be tough to negotiate down.
Yeah, but there's the area as a whole, though, you have a lot of opportunities there, and these are great areas too to be in. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
All right, now in this video we do have to talk about rates. There's a lot of people who are waiting on the sideline to say, all right, well, I'm going to wait until the interest rate gets back down to 3%, 4%. Real talk.
I don't think we're going to see that.
I don't think we're going to see it. I don't think it's happening. And so think about this, though. What if it did come down a few points and you save yourself, let's say, $4,000 or $5,000 over the next few years? Well, if you wait, especially like in Williamson County, you know, that could be a $60,000 increase in property value that you just missed out on to try to save on an interest rate.
Right. Well, so where the stats in Williamson, as an example, are going up 6% year over year, if you're waiting, then you're missing out on that 6% increase. Yeah. And what you could do instead is make the purchase, but negotiate a rate buy down so that you're very comfortable with your monthly payment. You know, if you're buying a house paying out of your comfort zone, hoping that you're going to refinance, that's not a plan. That's a hope.
Exactly.
You shouldn't buy a house and you know, risk your finances based on a hope. You need a plan, and that rate buy down, that's where that becomes really important.
Yeah. The deal has to work today with the numbers, but the rate buy down is a great way to, let's say if your interest rate is 6.5%, you can have the seller pay your interest rate down to where it's 4.5% for your first year, and then 5.5% for your second year, and they pay that at closing. So where your payment for the next 2 years is going to be down. So that's a great strategy,
right?
To
and then
get you
also
in
those 2 years, as you're paying those lower rates, hopefully your property value is increasing that 6%.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball,
right?
But
we can't guarantee.
Even in a slower market, 1.6% in Metro in a slower time period says a lot about what's happening as people continue to relocate to the area. So, but that buy down, but all that to say, like, don't wait for interest rates. If you need to move, there's other ways to help
make
you
it
get
work.
what you need.
Yeah.
Okay, so now for the payoff, we're going to tell you what we would do in 3 different price ranges of $1 million, $2 million, and $3 million. For $1 million, you ready? Here's what I would do. I would go to Franklin, and I would look for something that was on the market for more than 60 days, and I would look for something that was either older or in a planned development like West Haven. I freaking love West Haven. The pools, the golf courses, everything. It's a great area especially if you're coming from out of state, to be able to meet your neighbors and really find events that are going on all day. We've done a video on West Haven, but you could come in. What I would do is come in 3 to 5% under list price, and instead of just going completely hard on price, I would also ask for that rate buy down. Get 2% rate buy down on the first year, 1% on the second year. It's easier mentally for a seller for some reason to pay that than to come down on their price. Right. So still come down on price, 3 to 5%, plus the the buy rate, the rate buy down, and I think most sellers would take that in this market. That's what I would
agree.
do.
But if an older home and renovating is not really what you're looking for, I would take, for new construction, I would take that $1 million and go to Nolensville. I would meet those builders and talked about all the incentives and making sure we negotiated all of those for you. Yeah, I would stack the incentives that we talked about, those rate buy downs, the blinds, the appliances, the fence, the pool, all those things. And either way, $1 million to find that lifestyle, whether it's Brentwood or Nolensville, you just can't find it in California, period.
Yeah, exactly. All right, $2 million. Brentwood, hands down. You have the school system, you have an acre lot, you have beautiful established trees. The rolling hills of Tennessee is what you get. I would go in with the $2 million and find one of these older homes built in the 90s.
Right.
Plan to
spend that renovation plan.
Exactly.
Right?
Plan to spend $200,000 to $300,000 on that renovation, and you still get all those things, and you're going to get something that feels like a $2.5 million home. If you don't want to do that, obviously you just plan on going ahead and spending that $2.5 million, and you're not going to have as much leverage.
Right. Okay. And the last one would be $3 million and up. I think I would go Green Hills and Belle Meade.
Good choice.
There, you're not just buying a home, you're buying a position. It's more of a status that you're buying into. And those homes, you have to be in the know. So this is where we come in. We have conversations behind the scenes with these other realtors finding these opportunities.
Yeah.
They don't come up on Zillow very often. You have to be in the know. You have to be having those conversations, or we have to be having those conversations and those luncheons, and get you that inside edge.
Yeah, especially Belle Meade. That's where, because they're never going to build another Belle Meade. You can't recreate what has been established there.
Exactly. So the value there it's there for $3 million. They may be older homes. There's not as much new construction there, but the prestige is there.
Yeah, in the building. Yeah, Green Hills obviously has a lot more new construction, but you're not getting a lot of them. A lot of them are $3 million homes where they tore one house down and built two, right? So you're getting, and people are paying for that.
And that's the trade-off.
That is the trade-off. Yeah. And obviously you're in the city at that point, so you get to be in the middle of it all.
Right. You're 10 minutes from Vanderbilt. If you're, if you work at the hospital or something like that, your commute is incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's land this. There are basically 3 numbers to pay attention to. We're almost at 100 days on the market, 6 months of supply, a little under 6 months of supply now.
It's gone down, yeah.
And a market split in 2. We're looking at Franklin resale, Nolensville new construction, and Brentwood renovations. And that's where the leverage is coming in. And now you know exactly what we would do with our money.
What would you do with your money? Comment below. Let us know what you think about this. And again, we cannot wait to meet you. Book a 15-minute call with us. That's the best strategy. If you're moving here in the next 3 to 6 months, don't do it without us. We would love to help you. And if you really want to go and check out some of this new construction that we've talked about, check out the video here. We're going to pop one up where we're comparing 2 builders in town, Drees and Partners in Building. Great builders,
Brentwood,
and we're going to compare those 2 properties so you get an idea of the new construction.
Yeah,
What,
and how far
$2.5
your money? Yeah,
right about $2.5 million.
Right.
So check that out. Check that video out, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Later.